My name is Eileen Mitchell. I've been a CASA for 17 years. I've had 4 cases that involved altogether 7 children. Being a CASA volunteer has meant making a difference, a very distinct difference in the life of a child. In every case I had, I can look back and think of a decision I made or something I did in one spot that really made a huge difference in the way the case turned out or in the child's life. So it really was knowing that I could make that difference. I could make being in the foster care system a little better for them, taking advantage of whatever I could to just give them opportunities that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. You know, that the next case is just that new challenge then of taking a different child in different situation and just seeing that I can make it the best situation as I can for that particular child. So my first 2 cases were just singleton cases, but my last 2 I switched over to sibling groups, because then that became interesting from the standpoint of being able to help make sure those kids got together, because unfortunately in both cases they were like in different homes, different settings, different group homes or foster homes. And so that challenge of really being able to bring those kids together and keeping those relationships growing while the child was in foster care. So that kind of kept me going, especially for those last 2 cases. That's what kept me going. Two things. I would say take advantage of the trainings. And I know from the emails we get sometimes that some people have a hard time accepting that doing their 12 hours a year, but take it. There's some wonderful trainings out there. So I think taking advantage of the trainings, because it's not only the trainings, but when they're in person, then you have the interaction with other CASAs in the room, and there's just so much you can learn from that. The other thing is the forums. I really appreciated the forums, because there were times where I was stuck and didn't know kind of where to go with my case, and I'd go to one of the forums, and lo and behold, somebody in the room had something very similar, and so they were able to share what they did, and it was like, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that. And so I really did appreciate the CASA forums and being able to troubleshoot and get good advice from the other CASAs who'd been there and take advantage of their wisdom, their collective wisdom. I think just allowing myself to still have a family life, take vacations. My kids, I didn't become a CASA till my kids all went off to college, and they all chose to go away to college, so they weren't around at all. But taking the opportunities to still feel like I'm serving my own kids and taking those vacations and visits, and knowing that I was able to still keep in touch with my kiddos by phone, send them postcards from wherever I went. Nowadays you can do the Zoom thing with them, so still keeping them in my life, but just being able to take that time to feel like I was servicing, getting to see my own children and grandchildren that have come along since I started being a CASA. Yes, looking back, there's one case that I had that I really, I guess I didn't see some of the signs that this mom who wanted to adopt the child was not going to be the best thing for her. And so there is one case that did go to adoption, but she walked away from the adoption at 19 and finally got back in touch with me, and I realized that we had not probably done the best thing for her, but nobody realized it at the time. The case manager didn't realize it. This foster mom also had other foster kids in the home, and so those DCS case managers didn't pick up on some of the stuff she was doing. So, I can't say that it was any of our faults, but I do regret that in her case that we did not do the best by her. Well, first of all, I found that my fellow CASAs were very inspirational, and I was just inspired by the fact that there was such a great group of people who were doing this same work that I was doing, and just that made me very proud to be part of the organization. But I also just had a lot of fun and took advantages of things that CASA offered, and learned new stuff, and learned how to fly a drone with my one kiddo. Or actually, I had one family that a 3-sibling group that ended up going to live with an aunt with 5 kids and grandparents, and big crazy group. And at that time, it was coming to be Christmas, and the Cardinals were looking for a family to adopt. And so CASA asked us to submit a little essay about why our family should be chosen. Well, they picked my essay. And so I had the great pleasure of being able to go over to the Cardinal training facility and fill my pickup truck with all these gifts that these hunky Cardinal players brought out to my truck. And then I took it out to their house, and they didn't hardly have room in their living room for all the stuff that they had received for the 3 kids that were my CASA kiddos, but the 5 cousins they lived with, their 2 parents and the grandparents. So that was, just one of the delightful things about being a CASA, some of those kind of surprise things like that. And with my last CASA kiddo, my current CASA kiddo, we went to the Cardinals and met the coach several times through CASA activities. He always loved that when we got to go to a Cardinals game and meet them. So there's been a lot of fun adventures that I've been able to have as a result of being a CASA. It's been mostly my husband. Has been extremely supportive for the amount of time that I've had to spend with the CASA kiddos, and the amount of time, like even just transporting the kids. I've had CASA kiddos that lived as far away as 80 miles each direction, having to do 160 miles to go visit them. And he was very, he encouraged me to buy a hybrid car so I didn't have to spend so much on gasoline to go visit the kiddos. But he has just been extremely supportive. In fact, he actually got into, he didn't become a CASA, but he actually, as a Boy Scout leader, saw an ad one time that there was a group home, Sunshine Residential Homes, who wanted to start a Boy Scout troop for kids in foster care. So he was the scoutmaster for a troop of boys in foster care. So it actually he got involved in sort of his own kind of way with the foster care system. So it actually kind of brought us some shared experiences that we might not have had otherwise.